Hey everybody, welcome to Jokin' Drums. I'm John Kinsting, and this is part 2 of the series, The Talking Hi-Hat. If you've seen the introduction, part 1, hope you enjoyed that. Hope it kind of piqued your interest in all things having to do with the hi-hat. Let me start out by this observation. So, Buddy Rich, okay? Pretty good drummer. Aside from the song Hawaiian War Chant, I believe every solo that Buddy has ever played, or at least every solo of his that I've ever seen, started out where? On the hi-hat. That's where he starts out. Okay? It's something of significance, I believe. So anyway, we're continuing. This is part 2 of the Talking Hi-Hat series. And part 2 is entitled The Push. On the surface, the push is extremely easy, and I'll perform one for you right now. Like that, okay? But as with a lot of these techniques, hi-hat techniques, there are subtleties, and those subtleties will range from, oh, this is kind of an acceptable technique, to, boy, this thing really has got some quality to it. In the same way that when you investigate ghost notes, okay, ghost notes like on the snare drum, the people that kind of get it down, yeah, I get it, it's ghost notes. The people who are masters at it, obviously Bernard Purdie, that's a whole nother level. And that speaks to really expressive playing. And so the same goes with the push technique. I'm going to explain to you some of the subtleties, and then we're going to see how those subtleties come into play in terms of making this technique really musical. Okay, so basically the technique is this. You have your cymbals slightly open. Now when I say this, it's not going to be like this. It's not going to be full open. Not going to be full closed either. Think of it more, maybe not so open, as the pressure coming off of the left foot, the hi-hat foot. So as you kind of release that pressure, you are going to strike with your stick and push. And this is called a push for one obvious reason. Yes, you do push. You push and you mash these plates together, okay? You push. So when you make this move, it's a combination of releasing the pressure from the foot and striking and pushing with your hand. Let me do a couple of these. Notice there's really two sounds. There's the open and then the close with the foot. The hand only makes one strike. Okay? Let me do a couple in series. Notice, last one, I actually did the close of the foot first. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But you could do it either way. Start with the hand strike or start with the foot. So that's the idea of the push. Can be very, very expressive. Can be a great move. Let me show you some flat out bad techniques for the push, okay? Okay, not so good because we don't want that much of an open sound when we hit the hi-hats. We want the hi-hats to be definitely the cymbals in contact. and fairly close together. So instead of we do, hear the difference? Second bad technique. A little ping with the bead of the stick on the cymbal followed by the foot closure. That's not going to work either. It has not the same power. It has not the same effect. We want the notation for what we just played. Notice on the and of 4, we have the notation for a push. And it's denoted by a red O. You open the hi-hat there. Notice also that we don't bother to include a representation of the foot closure of that hi-hat. Remember, it's implied by the push itself. Finally, note that on 1 of the second measure, I've indicated a hi-hat hit here with the right hand, but in reality, you don't have to hit this because your left foot is going to make a check sound as a result of finishing up the push. This code is very similar to the previous example. We see, again, we see a push on the and of 4. But in this case, what we're doing is adding the bass drum to the same and of 4 note that is happening on the and of 4 with the push. So said another way, on the and of 4, we not only have the push, we have it reinforced with the bass drum. Notice also the following count 1 of the second measure, that bass drum can be played or not played. It's effective both ways. In this playing example, I'm doing a 2-bar repeated pattern. What you're looking at is the code for one of those bars. In this particular case, I'm doing 4 pushes, each on the and count of 1, 2, 3, and 4, respectively. Also, with each and count, I'm also reinforcing that push with a bass drum note. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Talking Hi-Hat, this one being the push. And keep in mind, if you do the push correctly and you listen closely, you'll almost hear the sound of bacon sizzling. Of course, I should point out that if you hear the sound of bacon sizzling, it could be somebody's in the kitchen cooking. Anyway, enjoy.